Hello, my name is Lorraine of District32, and I've got the absolute pleasure of interviewing Tim Guest of Infinite Wealth. How are you, Tim?
I'm great, thanks. How are you?
I'm really well, thank you. We're getting cracking. These are January interviews. People are getting ready to rock and roll again.
Hey, look, I don't know about you and your members out there, but one of the things that I've noticed is our marketing has been absolutely going bonkers at the start of the year, and we've been securing leads far cheaper than what we normally would. It seems like people have really switched on and looking forward to 2023.
They are. I was saying that just actually, not so much we've not felt it this early. I'm only back a day. Maybe I'll have a look. But in the lead up to Christmas, usually we would have people say, come back and talk to us in February. Come back and talk to us after Australia Day. And it's just not the case. People are ready to go. The market out there is confident, which is exciting for Perth. Different to the rest of the world, as usual.
Yeah.
So look, Tim, I was really excited to interview you. I think we've seen you on the TV a few times. You do have a regular spot on the TV, which is great. So that's why you're the infamous Tim Guest. But look, Tim, I've asked you to come and speak for District 32 because I think you're a successful business owner in its own right, but you've had your own trials and tribulations and journeys. So I thought I would like to give you the opportunity just to find out a little bit more about you and about Infinite Wealth. So, Tim, what is Infinite Wealth? How did you get into it?
Yeah, sure. Probably the best way to talk about Infinite Wealth is tell you a little bit more about me. So I'm West Australian born and bred, grew up in Gosnells, which, as most people will know, is a pretty kind of rough and tough suburb, especially when I was growing up there. Grew up in a single income family, and during the recession of the late 80s, early 90s, my old man lost his job, who was the only income earner in our family, and he was unemployed for a period of 2 years. And that it was just a really tough time for our family. I mean, as a kid, you didn't really think about money at all. You had food on the table, roof over your head. But then seeing my dad going through that period was just a real eye-opener for me. And, made me get really clear that, I was never as tough as my dad, and seeing what financial stress did to him, I better make sure I've got money behind me. So not knowing what to do, I kind of left school and started pursuing things like self-education and reading books and all that kind of stuff. And gradually I kind of learned more and more and started building networks. And eventually I met a multimillionaire who kind of took me under his wing and taught me basically how to invest, like the top 200 rich list here in Australia. And timing was also an important factor. I was just so happened that I was kind of my early 20s as we hit, that kind of early 2000 period. And I was able to do a lot of investing and kind of ride that boom that we had between 2001 and 2008, particularly here in Western Australia. And that got me to a point essentially where I was 27 years of age and I had 13 properties. And that was pretty much when I basically retired. When I say retired, I kind of retired for about 4 years. I was a bit of a rat bag first, as most young people with way too much money are. But then I also realized kind of how empty, I guess, that was. And, before too long, I was kind of trying to find out more about what my purpose, I was 29 years of age and was really kind of at a bit of a crossroads. Like, I'm 29 years of age. I don't really need to work. What the hell am I going to do with the rest of my life? And funnily enough, actually entered a period of a little bit of depression, because I think a lot of what was driving my ambition was, what a lot of us deal with, some kind of like self-esteem or issues from the past where I thought I wasn't good enough, and it was always just about trying to prove something. And despite the fact I certainly proved it, it didn't fix anything internally at all. So, I went through a period of sort of self-reflection and a bit of self-discovery, and kind of came out of there realizing, what I was passionate about and how I wanted to spend the rest of my life. And that's really kind of how Infinite Wealth got created. I had skills from obviously my investing and the wealth that I built myself. I'd also done a lot of personal and professional development work. I'd actually led programs for one of the top professional development companies in the world for about 5 years. So I wanted to combine my skills. Yeah, my skills.
I didn't know that.
Sorry?
I didn't know that part.
Yeah, no, it's not something that a lot of people tend to know about me. I mean, a lot of people tend to know more about, I guess, the money side of things, the retirement side of things. It is, certainly a good story, but I think one of my real passions is really to do with understanding human beings and how we work and why we operate the way that we do, and trying to, in some way kind of shortcut or hack our own biology and find, shortcuts to producing success and effectiveness and the kind of results that you want to produce in your life. So yeah, it was a real, just kind of a natural step for me to combine my finance experience with my training experience. And, all I really wanted to do was share what someone had once shared with me with other people. I just wanted them to have the same opportunities at being able to build wealth and, not have to live a life that involves 50, 60, 70 years of doing something you probably don't want to do to end up somewhere you probably don't want to be. So that's kind of, I guess, how the business got created. I tend to find that maybe, as is often the case with a lot of new businesses, you're very agile, you have low overheads in those first kind of 5 years. And I found it quite easy for the business to be, very successful in the very, very early days. We were kind of making money hand over fist, but we grew much bigger than we grew too big too fast, and certainly didn't have the operational systems and structures and processes really needed to support the level of business that we were doing. But we started to put that into place. And that was kind of really where I once I got that in place and kind of forged on that next, I guess, growth stage in the business, it was really where I hit another hurdle that I just didn't expect to hit in business. And I really, I was probably blind to it for a number of years. And yeah, to be perfectly honest, it almost killed me.
Wow. So that's really here. I want to go and dig into that more, but what I want to do is also get people to the event to hear the rest of your story,
Sure.
right? But
Sure.
I mean, that's a really powerful story, that you've got there. And I think it's a really important message that people are more open to hearing now. It's definitely, we have spent years and years and years chasing the dollar, chasing the big dreams, and sacrificing all the sacrifices we have to make in order to get there. But I think people are generally, or in my world anyway, are generally looking for some more fulfillment.
Hey, Lorraine, let me ask you, because you would know better than me. Would you say that it's a fair assessment that most people would get into their own business because, particularly what they're trying to produce is freedom?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Freedom.
And I mean, obviously, I think they realize that initially it's going to involve a lot of work. But, the reason why we often get into our own business is because we figure that, okay, we might need to do the initial work to get the business set up. But once we've got it set up, it's going to provide us some kind of freedom, maybe financial prosperity, and that freedom and that kind of security that comes with that, you would hope would then have flow-on effects to things like your health, your relationships, maybe your satisfaction and fulfillment in life. But, one of the things that I often notice, and, like I said, you can answer this much better than me, but I often find that that's why business owners often get into business, but that is very few business owners ever achieve that. In fact, most business owners work 10 times harder than most employees ever do. And often end up with, health issues and relationship issues and, all these other things.
We go into business for more time and more money. We don't have more time or more money for a long time. And I think the statistic is, I think it's only 4% of all business owners across the world will make it to the 2 million mark.
Yeah, wow. So that's the stats I know, is that 50% of businesses basically get unregistered within the first 3 years. So you got half of people fail in the first 3 years anyway. And then of the ones that are left, what did you say?
There's 4%. Half of them fail again, and half of them.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, and then only, of the half that are left, there's only 4%, which accounts to only 2% of businesses that are open after 3 years ever get to that kind of point. So, yeah. So look, I really want to share, I guess, just a really critical lesson that I learned on my journey. And it was literally a mistake I made. It's something that I teach my clients to do, yet I didn't do it myself. And yeah, it could have ended up really badly for both me personally and the business.
Wow. So Tim, thank you very much. I was going to wrap that up by saying you're talking about the event, but you've wrapped it up so much better than I would have done, because you've given me a punchline like you could only see in Netflix coming next. Tune in to hear the full story. So thank you very much. So for anybody listening, Tim is going to speak for District 32 Business Community on Thursday, the 19th of February. He's going to share his story, and you're going to share what mistake you made and how that nearly killed you.
Can't
So
wait.
Tim, thank you very much for your time, and I'm really excited both to meet you again and to hear you speak next week. Thank you very much.
Look forward to seeing you, Lorraine.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.